Yeah, see you later.
If there's no objection, I'd like to move on since, and take the agenda out of order and move on to G, since we've got a couple of representatives from MRED here, and then we can get back on track. That way we won't keep them here all night. Any objection? On to G, consideration and possible action to be taken by the town board about the determination announced under Title IV of the town ordinances with respect to the request made by MRED-Cummings pertaining to the town's hours of operation for its approved Walgreens.
Since I asked for this item to be on, I guess we'll start. The applicability of Title IV and the subsequent finding that was issued by Mr. Flanagan, delivered to Clerk Salentine, and then delivered to MRED. Jamie, I'd like to ask one question of you, and that is, did you seek direction from the town attorney as to the applicability and the action to deliver that finding?
I had no direction.
So under what authority did you issue that letter to the applicant?
By direction of the chairman.
So I guess, John, I'd ask you the same questions. Did you get any legal advice from the town attorney or legal opinion as to the applicability?
I did.
And would you share that advice that you got from our attorney?
I will share it with you, but I think it's incompetent. He said that that it was a legislative decision, and I said, tell me please, what law did we create?
So his advice...
And I'll ask you the same question, what law did we create?
Okay, so his advice was that it didn't apply, and you proceeded with directing, I'm assuming, if I asked Mr. Flanagan in the crowd, I'm assuming that he would say that he completed the review based on your direction. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
So we had our town council who represents the town people tell you that it didn't apply.
No, but he said in his opinion it didn't apply.
Well, that's what attorneys give, they give their opinions. And typically, I believe the ordinances would call out that we should be interested in what the town attorney has to say and follow that direction.
Where in the town ordinances does it say that, Supervisor Bansky?
I believe it's under your oath. The section...
Hold on, I'm going to stop you there. Is that accurate?
Pardon?
Is that
I
accurate?
didn't hear what he said.
He said that in the oath that I'm supposed to obey whatever the town attorney tells me.
No, that you're supposed to enforce the town ordinances is, and the town ordinance was interpreted by the town attorney as to say that this item was not applicable, was not reviewable.
Well, that's fine, but I think his opinion was incompetent, so I'm not going to abide by that.
Okay, but you're not a dictator in the town.
No, I'm not a dictator. Title IV authorizes the chairman to proceed in that fashion.
It does not.
And I was asked to do so by yes it does, and I was asked to do so by a petitioner who felt he was aggrieved, and that's the direction that we took, Joe.
I have Title IV right here. I'd like to have you point to me where it says, you as the chairman have the authority to direct that a review be undertaken. It says that you have the authority to appoint an individual to do a review without approval of the board, but that does not say that you have the ability to order that a review be undertaken.
I'm not going to get into word games with you, Joe. If I have the authority to approve and appoint an authorized individual, doesn't that also mean that that individual is going to do the review?
Well, we could question whether or not Mr. Flanagan has done an accurate review if we wanted to.
You don't get to question him.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Where does that show up in the ordinance, please?
Well, it's very simple. I'll actually show you, unlike you not showing me. If Title IV applies, and I would argue that it does not apply, there's a process that is outlined. That process would state that if a hearing was held that there is the right of the petitioner to appeal.
Wait, what's you're outside, Joe, it's an
Says right
initial,
here.
no, Joe, that's the initial determination.
I understand
And the
that.
hearing is held if the aggrieved party disagrees with the initial determination.
I
That has nothing to do with the town board. The town board doesn't have that option.
I understand that. However, if a hearing is not held, then the initial review, quote, shall be a final determination. Under the ordinance section entitled Judicial Review, it states, any party to a proceeding resulting in a final determination. Since there is no appeal, this becomes a final determination. The town board is certainly, regard to a party involved in this proceeding, we may then seek a writ of certiorari, which allows a judicial process to undertake to tell you, in fact, that Title IV, just like our attorney has said, does not apply. The legislative enactment in 4-1-3 is defined within the ordinance. It is defined by any motion of a town board that is adopted. It does not differentiate whether that was an administrative motion or a legislative motion. It does not say that that motion had to be to create new law. It simply says that if there is an adopted motion by the town board, that item is not reviewable under this clause. Furthermore, if Title IV did apply, the aggrievement would have happened back on July 11th, when the hours were in fact agreed to by the petitioner. Then later, he came back and asked for a change to his site plan, which would have been a requirement to go back to the Plan Commission, which did not occur. So we have on many a front, Title IV does not apply, was not applied correctly, and now that a letter has been issued to the petitioner, they have sent a letter back from their counsel stating that they are acting as if that is a valid finding. Now we have a big fat mess, and we have that mess, and we need to do something about it, because under this action, we've now declared that the law is no longer the law, that any item can be reviewed. If we deny your outbuilding because it doesn't meet our ordinance, or because your roof is 26 feet high, you could actually file an aggrievement, and we'd have to go through this process. Mr. Flanagan's gonna be quite busy, because he's gonna review everything.
That's simply not accurate,
That is
Mr.
accurate.
Vansky, because we have ordinances that say you can't have a building of a certain height.
And
We
we have-
don't have an ordinance that says we can alter hours of a plan of operation.
Apparently, you haven't read 13-2-4. 13-2-4 states, and I'll read it, plan of operation. No use shall be approved until the town and staff has reviewed, approved the plan of operation application form that shall indicate, and I'll spare you the list that's here, and simply say the frequency and duration of all activities. It's my belief that this is specifically addressing the hours of operation. That is in fact why on our application that has been around for decades, we make every business that has opened in the town of Waukesha list the hours of operation. It is something that is described in our ordinances as under the board's discretion to approve. We have been exercising that authority for decades, and we continue to have the right to exercise that authority.
You are absolutely correct, Joe, with regards to what you just read. The fact is, it says review and approve. Can you show me where it says alter or modify the plan of operation?
We have the authority.
Where?
We'll get to it, because when somebody submits a plan, the town board has the right to approve, deny, or approve with conditions. And
You
that
do,
language.
where does it
Yes,
say
does.
approve with conditions, Joe?
Go ahead and read your ordinances, John.
No, Joe,
You've
you're
been
the
a
one that's got
chairman
the ordinance
long enough.
box. You've got the book
You've been a
out.
chairman
Tell us
long
where it
enough.
says, no, Joe, show me where it says approve with conditions.
You've been a chairman long enough.
No,
to read
Mr.
your
Vansky, please answer the question. Show me where it says that.
I don't have that ordinance with me, I didn't bring it.
That's because it doesn't exist, Mr. Vansky.
Mr. Chairman, can I get in on the
Yes.
conversation, please? Looks like it's gonna be the evening for everybody at the board table to play Matlock, so might as well get in on it. I wanna back up, just a bit, on this. The, Waukesha Freeman on August 27th of this year published. The article by Sarah Pryor says Walgreens and Aldi development dead again. And I want to make just a couple of comments on that and what's in the article. Regarding the action that the town board took at the meeting on Thursday, August 22nd, by a 3-2 vote, denied the request of the petitioner for Walgreens for 24-hour operating privileges. Sarah Pryor wrote in part in the article that Supervisor Brian Fisher, that's me, said that the town board changed the zoning of the area for business use, and Walgreens and Aldi would be operating there as permitted uses. I said that, and that's factually true. I don't think anybody's going to dispute that. She went on to quote me, inaccurately quote me, I might add. So this was a couple of days after that meeting. I said, I question whether the town of Waukesha has the regulatory authority to establish the operating hours of those businesses who are operating in a permitted use application. And she notes that I voted in favor of giving Walgreens the full 24-hour operation. I might, in response to Mr. Hom there, yes, previous to that, I was the one that made the motion for the restriction. That's because the petitioner, I thought, consented to it at that point in time. That fundamentally changed. I'll go on, and my position remains unchanged with regard to this issue, and it's very simple. And I'll come a minute to the issue about the Title IV review. But my position is simply this, and remains so. Unless and until someone can identify a provision in Wisconsin state statutes or the town of Waukesha Code of Ordinances or some case law in the state of Wisconsin wherein the regulatory authority to establish the operating hours that are the subject of discussion is specifically granted to the town of Waukesha, I will continue to assume that we, the town board, have no such authority. Assuming for the sake of discussion that we do have such authority and someone can make the case that we do, and I don't believe we made the case because it says approved, it doesn't say alter, amend, I assert that we have absolutely no authority whatsoever to do that selectively. And that is precisely what we have done. We allowed the new Walmart, soon to be open on Les Paul Parkway. They have 24-hour operation. We have applied that not only inappropriately in my judgment, but selectively. Regarding the review, my reading of the ordinance and with regard to the exceptions that you want to talk about, it all pertains to legislative enactment. That's the terminology. Look it up. Simply stated by definition, legislative means having the function of making laws. When the town board voted 3-2 to deny the request for the Walgreens 24-hour operation, we were not making a law. We were simply attempting to exercise regulatory authority, which we do not possess, and to do so selectively. A couple of other comments I've got, and then I'll let the rest of you respond. I mean, I know this is an issue that you're passionate about, Joe. I got to tell you, on a personal level, I think the quip that you like a lot of times that nothing good happens after 10 p.m., I think that's kind of cute. I kind of like it. But I sit there and say, then should we decree, if we embrace that Merrill Hills Country Club needs to close at 10 o'clock? We had an application in here not long ago from Tally's Tap and Grill, what was RJ's or Tallingers. Should they be shut down at 10 o'clock if nothing good happens after 10 o'clock? What about Neighbors Bar and Grill over on Greenfield Avenue or Arcadian? Should they be shut down? What about the Walmart grocery? So how do we put, even if you want to argue that we have that regulatory authority, how do we put ourselves into the position to do that selectively? I don't think we do. And the last comment, and I'll move on, and for me, it's a bigger picture issue. And I apologize to the fellow members of the board, members of the audience, anybody who's watching on YouTube, if I look or sound frustrated, I am. Ms. Glade was up and addressed us before. Trust me, she and I have not been in conversation fair enough, but I was intrigued by the fact that she made reference to the Waukesha-Freeman edition of a bit of time back. I'm going to hold this up and finish my thoughts. I don't know, Sandy, whether you can zero in on that or not. The title on this says, New Farmland, PHARM-LAND, obviously for the pharmacy, kind of catchy, kind of cute. The title says, Town Leaders OK Zoning for Walgreens. I'm going to read two little parts out of it. The opening paragraph says, Town of Waukesha leaders approved a plan Thursday to amend a land use map and move forward with plans for a new Walgreens. With the approval, the change from residential to mixed-use zoning on Genesee Street, or Genesee Road and Sunset Drive will go to county government for approval. That's since happened. Two other quick and interesting paragraphs. There's one in here, and I think he may be in the room, but it says the plans for Walgreens include room for the expansion of the road, said Thomas Schmitzer, a representative for the developer. And then one more paragraph, quote, with the amount of traffic, life is changing on that corner, unquote. Plan Commissioner Angie Van Sock said, quote, it's changing every day, unquote. Folks, this is the Waukesha-Freeman edition from Friday, October 9th, 2009. That's 4 years and a day ago yesterday, 4 years and 2 days away from the meeting. I understand and appreciate that there's an issue that is passionate to people. We've had a lot of people talk about it, but my big takeaway on this, you could quibble about the meaning of ordinances and stuff, but this ship sailed. It sailed over 4 years ago. I just read that to you. And I guess my final comment, in addition to the fact that the ship has sailed, is more often than not, this town board and the previous town board have failed to earn the respect of our constituents and others. This should come as no surprise to anyone. Let's move on with it, get off of this thing, and go on to some other productive business. Thank you.
I did happen to print out both pages of the ordinance. Under 13.2-4, the Town Plan Commission and the Town Board hereinafter in this subsection referred to as the town shall approve, conditionally approve, or reject the detailed site and architectural plans. The detailed site includes the hours of operation. It says we have the authority. It declares we have the authority. And it tells us in the other ordinance, Title 4, this is a non-reviewable item. Now that we've issued this letter, Brian, you just said, unless there's a legal opinion that provides you.
No, I didn't say that. You're misquoting me.
Okay.
I did
You
not
wrote
say a
it
legal
down.
opinion.
You wrote it down.
I did not
You
say.
had it written down.
I
Let's
did
read
not
it.
say a legal opinion.
But you had it written
I
down.
did not say a
What word did you,
legal opinion.
what word did
Go
you
back
have?
and listen to the tape, Joe. I desire not to argue.
Go back and listen
It
to
was
this.
case law.
Okay.
That's
Case.
different.
Okay.
Case
But you're-
law.
Okay.
Thank
The
you.
long and the short is, for my liking, I believe that Chairman Marek's actions flew in the face of our own attorney's advice. It flew in the face of comments and advice that I had shared here in the town board meetings and in writing. I believe that we now have a situation where we've provided a document in writing that is unauthorized by the title that was abused. And I think that the town board cannot allow a precedent to be set where a law has been broken,
Whoa, hold on, what law's been broken?
an
Oh,
ordinance.
hold on, whoa.
I'll tell you, hang on. An ordinance is a town law. Is a law just like a state law is a law. It's just a local law. And it defines specific actions that are to be taken. I believe that this action that was taken is unwarranted, and the advice was provided that it was unwarranted. And I think that we now need to take some action to provide a fair review of that and get advice as to how we proceed. I don't believe that that action can be undertaken with our town attorney at this point, and I state that because the email back and forth dialogue that has taken place over the last few weeks between our town chairman and the attorney for the town has been utterly ridiculous. It has lacked of respect. It has been in face of his being the attorney's ask over and over to provide input on this issue, and he has been rebuked every time he has offered that input. So I would like
He hasn't been asked over and over. Joe, you can't stretch
Yes,
the truth like
couple
this.
of
I
times.
asked
I've
him
got the email right
one
here, John.
time.
Point of order.
I got the email
I
right
asked
here.
him one time.
One person at a time, please, and respect the floor to the person that is speaking.
One time, Joe, I asked him. And I
didn't say
disagree
that
with his
you asked
opinion.
him. I said that he sought out permission from you on multiple occasions to provide you an opinion to engage Mr. Flanagan, and you rebuked him every time.
I disagree. When did he ask for permission to engage Mr. Flanagan?
By your appointee, he was reaching out to you to provide legal opinion, and that legal opinion would have been transferred to Mr. Flanagan as a result of his now being appointed.
Joe, much like you have said in the past, I wasn't even
Emails right
interested.
here.
Much like you've said in the past, I wasn't interested in his legal opinion because like you have said in the past, I feel it's incompetent.
This, I've never said it's incompetent. And this thing goes on for 9, 10 pages. It's email dialogue back and forth between you and Hector. He's asking 3 times here to provide legal input into this exact issue prior to the review. And you continue to say that he has no place in Title IV.
He doesn't.
To act anywhere.
He doesn't.
He's
Show me
the
in
town-
Title IV where it says,
He's the town
have the town
attorney.
attorney advise the reviewer.
He's
The
the town-
authorized representative, where does it show that he has any authority to advise that individual?
Factually, did you know at the time that Hector was asking you that his opinion was that Title IV did not apply to allow this to be reviewed?
At what time?
When these emails were going back and forth, you had already commenced or appointed Mr. Flanagan to do the review. Mr. DeLamora was asking you for permission to provide a legal opinion. Were you aware at that time of Mr. DeLamora's stance that he felt Title IV did not apply?
I was indeed.
And yet you rebuked that opportunity for the town residents to have that input into this issue.
No, I rebuked his opinion because I think it is an incompetent opinion. Do you want me to say it over and over, Joe?
Well, you have
Just
said
like
it
you
over.
have, just like you have said, Hector is not a good attorney for the town. Joe, we have it on tape, you've said that. I believe that. I believe exactly what you've said. I don't think that his opinion was competent. I believe that the other opinions that I've garnered are competent, and that's what I based my opinion on.
You don't have the statutory authority to declare something on behalf of the town.
I didn't declare anything, Joe.
But you sure did. You refused to accept the attorney's position and provide that information to the individual who's doing the review.
Mr. Bansky, there is no place in Title IV that says that the authorized representative for the town that's been appointed to do the review needs to consult with the attorney. Nowhere in there does
So
it say.
unless, if we got out the entire town ordinance book, you're saying that unless it specifically calls out an actionable item within the ordinance, that the town attorney then, or whatever, we could say that there's nothing in there that says specifically that he should review the development agreement that we're talking about right now, so he shouldn't do that either because it doesn't specifically call that out? I mean, that's.
No, specifically in Title IV, Joe, we're not talking about development agreements, we're talking about Title IV. And specific to Title IV, it does not say that the attorney needs to consult with the authorized representative appointed to do the review.
In Title 13, or does it say that the attorney should review the development agreement prior to?
We're not talking about development agreements, we're
It's
talking
the
about
same-
Title IV.
It's the same,
No,
yes, it is. You can keep saying no because it doesn't fit the story that you want to spin.
No spin,
You
Joe.
acted in opposition of the attorney's advice to you. The attorney's advice was that it did not apply. You had then directed the clerk to issue a letter to the petitioner, which creates a problem for the town because now they have a letter and they're telling us that they're gonna operate 24 hours, and their current approval does not allow them to operate 24 hours a day. And if they do, the building inspector is gonna be required to start to go out and find them, and we're gonna end up in a courtroom with a big ugly mess because we didn't do this right. There is a way for that, they could have come back and asked for a change to their site plan, that should go to the planning commission, it didn't. And there's a process there, that process is still very much in play and available to the petitioner if they chose to exercise that. But you decided to all by yourself change the hours of operation that this board had approved. In fact, you stripped the board of their right to vote.
no, Joe, I
Yeah, you
followed
did.
Title IV.
No, you
There
did
is a
not.
procedure set forth in our town ordinances that allows this procedure to take place as well as in the state statutes, and that's what I followed, and don't tell me that I stripped the town board or that I did anything else. Don't put words in anybody else's mouth, and don't stretch the
I didn't
truth,
put any
Mr.
words in their
Bansky,
mouth. I put them out of my mouth.
or mine.
Just for clarification, for me, I didn't send a letter or produce a letter. Mr. Flanagan gave me a letter and I directed it.
That's the one that
That's
you
what I
sent.
just wanted to clarify that, but I didn't send any other letter. That was Mr. Flanagan's letter.
I'd make a motion to hire special counsel William Deneen, not to exceed a $2,000 bill to prepare a opinion piece for this board to understand exactly what our position is, how Title IV applies, and what action item we now need to undertake to protect the legal right of the town board to make a vote and have that vote upheld. And that's my motion.
I have that paper. So I can spell it in.
I will second that motion. Joe, with discussion, please.
How'd you find Mr. Deneen?
I made phone calls,
Who'd you call?
several people, including my own personal attorney. I have attorney-client privilege like you do with yours.
Mr. Laska?
Is Jamie ready?
Did we talk that much?
Well, I'm trying to clear it up.
Mr. Laska?
I I find this whole, for lack of other words, mess to be an improper action by our town chair. For the life of me, I cannot see how an individual can be appointed when virtually the end result can be unbiased. Mr. Flanagan made his feelings known very clearly at various plan commissions, meetings, right here, open meetings, to appoint a person who is openly unbiased to a review. You can almost make certain what the outcome will be. This disturbs me. I find it an abuse of power if in fact it is a power. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question regarding the motion, Mr. Bansky, or Supervisor Bansky. Does the scope, and I'm sorry, I didn't catch the gentleman's name. What is his name?
William Deneen.
Is he with the firm, or is he a lone wolf, or what?
Yes, he's with the firm.
And the firm
Jamie
would
has
be?
that.
Ravello Carlson.
Okay. My question is, does the scope of his involvement include identifying a provision in Wisconsin state statutes or the town of Waukesha Code of Ordinances or some case law wherein the regulatory authority to establish these operating hours is specifically granted to the town of Waukesha? And does it further include a review as to whether or not, if we do have such authority, we can exercise it selectively? Is that included in the scope of his work?
If you have specific pieces such as what you've got written there that you would like to have reviewed, I would be happy to provide that to him. He felt that his rate is $200 per hour. He felt it would take 5 to 7 hours to be able to determine not only the applicability of Title IV in this case. His initial review, which he did for me, gratis, was that Title IV does not apply, that the review shouldn't have happened. And I would be more than happy for him to review 13-2-4 here and have him look at that and understand and provide for you that. I think that my dollar amount of $2,000 would afford him an additional 3 hours beyond what he anticipated he would need to review our ordinances and understand the position we are now in and the action that we should now.
Two things. One, if I may, a question and then a concern. My takeaway from your answer is yes.
Sure, be happy to.
Yes,
I think if
okay.
you have information that you want, Brian, and we get the resource.
All I'm looking for is a
perfect.
simple thing. The answer to my question is yes. The other thing, I have a deep concern now, maybe I didn't hear it correctly, but you said he's already made a preliminary determination
So-
gratis for you.
so
I
did-
certainly will not. If we're looking to do something that has some objectivity, what sense does that make to pay money to somebody who's already rendered an opinion that we know what it's gonna be? That makes no sense to me at all. I can't support that.
That was exactly my question, Joe. He's already told you what his opinion is. Why are we gonna flush $2,000 down the toilet?
Because
You've got his opinion, tell us his opinion.
you've heard it over and over, John, and you've turned your ears to it.
No, I've only heard it from Mr. Di Lamora, and I disagree with his opinion.
The opinion of,
Joe, you can go attorney shop and find somebody to tell you that the moon is made of cheese.
I'm sure.
What, so go attorney shop, let's go flush another $2,000 of taxpayer money down the toilet, hire your attorney that's gonna tell you that the moon is made of cheese if that's what you so desire to do, but it's an inappropriate use of town funds.
Just like it was an inappropriate use for you to abuse Title IX.
There's no abuse, Joe.
Call the vote, please.
Roll call vote. Reread the motion, please.
Supervisor Bansky moved to appoint Attorney William P. Deneen of Ravello Carlson SC, subject to a $2,000 limit, to provide the board a letter as to what action the board needs to take in regards to Title IV ordinance that has been taken.
I have one quick question, Mike. You're the champion of every time we come to this board meeting to say, well, I didn't get this information until just now and I can't support it, I smell a rat. You okay with this? Or did you know all about it already?
Why would I know all about it?
Are you okay with this?
I'm okay for whatever it
Wait a minute, you're the one who always says that you want all the information a week in advance. Are you okay with this?
Keep talking, I can't get a word in edgewise,
Go
so just
ahead.
keep
There's
running
your-
on.
Give me your answer. You okay with it?
Am I allowed to speak? Sir? No comment. Sir?
Call the vote, please.
Supervisor Laska,
Yes.
Chairman Marek,
No.
Supervisor Wolf,
Yes.
Supervisor Bansky,
Yes.
Supervisor Fisher.
No.
Motion approved.
All right, let's move on.